according to the King Institute for Faith and Culture. On this day in 1964, the Beatles appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show for the first time as teenage girls screamed hysterically in the audience, and 73 million people watched from home, a record for American television at the time. Their appearance on the show is considered the beginning of the, anybody know? British invasion. Seems apropos today of music in the United States. Thank you. It's all right. It's a late laugh. It's better than, it's a Monday morning. Exactly 52 years ago today, they sang several songs, including I Want to Hold Your Hand, which had just hit #1 on the charts. And I will tell you the opening lines to show you how much music has degraded since then as far as being deep and artistic. Oh yeah, I'll tell you something I think you'll understand. When I say that something, I want to hold your hand, I want to hold your hand, I want to hold your hand. Okay? Coldplay has nothing on it. Today we celebrate one of our own, our spring student lecturer, Elizabeth Swallow. Late each spring, faculty vote for 2 juniors to be next year's student lecturers, considering this to be an honor and a privilege. You know, crazy professors have these ideas. Introducing our student lecturer today is Dr. Han Ong, who is Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. He is, according to at least a few faculty members, an Asian sage who can predict snow closers in the audience. And when I walked over to say hello to him, he said, tell them you'll see them again on Thursday. So, I don't know what that says. We'll see if it holds true. While this may be speculative, I can say definitively that Dr. Ong is a foodie, enjoys working out with a medicine ball. I won't tell you how I know that. And has a wickedly funny sense of humor. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Han Ong.
Good morning, and a happy Chinese New Year. This is the year of the... Very good, very good. And someone told me also not to forget, go Broncos. Yeah, all right. I'm proud to know that it has become a tradition of sort for me to introduce the second student speaker every year. And it's also become a tradition of sort for me to only introduce students by the name of Elizabeth. After introducing Elizabeth Owens last year, she's in attendance today, I'm glad to be here today to introduce to you another Elizabeth of superb vintage, Elizabeth Swallow. Before I introduce her, I would like to acknowledge Elizabeth's parents and sister who are joining us via web stream. Hello, John, Margaret, Helen. It's about 2:15 p.m. right now in England, so my best guess is that their entertainment today, listening to Elizabeth, is also accompanied by a spot of tea. Hopefully with some nice cakes and finger sandwiches. Elizabeth is from the village of Kintbury in the county of Berkshire in England. It is located about 10 miles from Highclere Castle, which is featured as the home in Downton Abbey. Also, Kintbury is well known for its population revolt a few years back, when the number of pubs was reduced from 9 to 3 in that town. An abomination for sure for a population of about 2,000 people. So she's from a village. Sort of the Bluntville of England, I guess. Many of you don't know this story, but it struck me because of the serendipitous nature and how Elizabeth ended up at King's doorsteps in the fall of 2012. By Elizabeth's own admission, she simply wanted to play golf in the United States because everyone else in England was doing that. Equally important to her was that the area of her choosing will be free of earthquakes and tornadoes. So we're good there. So her father made a spreadsheet of the 20 or so schools that contacted her, so 20 schools that contacted her, and Elizabeth proceeded to color code her preference by using the colors red, orange, and green. Traffic light colors, right? They do have those in England. So for those of us who have enjoyed Elizabeth as a student, an athlete, and a friend, I think we owe our head golf coach, Brian Cam, a big thank you for bringing Elizabeth to us. Elizabeth epitomizes the student athlete as a golfer, She has 4 collegiate wins, 17 top 10s in 23 tournaments. She was Conference Carolina champion in 2014. She was voted WGCA's All-American Scholar for 3 straight years and was voted King University Female Athlete of the Year in 2014. In the summer of 2015, Elizabeth was awarded a prestigious research experience for undergrads by the National Science Foundation to work in the laboratory of Dr. William Brunken, Professor and Vice Chair of Research in Ophthalmology at the State University of New York's Upstate Medical University in Syracuse. While there, Elizabeth immersed herself in researching blood vessel formation and their associations with different types of neural cells in the central nervous system. This is, of course, a fancy way to say that Elizabeth spent her time counting and staining cells, using high-powered microscopy for long, long hours, and learning how to poke the eyes out of the orbital sockets of mice for further dissection. She performed her internship with aplomb, for which her research supervisor commented, and I quote, this is what he wrote of her. Let me say that at the outset, Elizabeth is an outstanding student, and she accomplished a considerable amount of work in 10 weeks. In fact, if this were a graduate student rotation, it would have been one of the most productive rotations in the history of the lab. He added, she mastered the experimental procedures very quickly. Indeed, Elizabeth is blessed with single trial learning. That's high praise. Her findings of the delayed maturation of venous-associated microglia and astrocytes is opening new questions for the lab in terms of the regulations of retinal vascularization. To us, though, she is simply the warm, friendly, hardworking, and widely loved Lizzie. She is that student who interjects lectures with, "Pardon me, sir," or "Madam." And she is that student who is slowly being converted to being a drinker of iced sweet tea. Elizabeth has taken the concept of vocation to heart, and it is really our hope that her future is bright, one hopefully filled with many birdies and eagles. Please help me welcome Elizabeth Swallow.
Wow, thank you very much, Dr. Rump, that's very kind. So, I'm very honoured to be standing in front of you all today. The day I received this email with a red flag of importance, you're like, oh no, what have I done now? I sat in slight disbelief and shock after reading that email from Dr. Sharon Harris. A rush of blood, a mixture of emotion all channeled through my body. Excitement, anxiety, fear. How could I say no? What a great opportunity what was presented to me. Yet the intimidation of the challenge of public speaking on my biggest stage so far. I hope this collection of thoughts was come clearer in focus over my 4 years at King will be interesting, inspiring, and challenging. You can tell from the first word I spoke today that I may not be around from this area. My ability to pick up that thick Tennessee accent has still eluded me. My best effort. Despite my attendance here for the past 4 years. With this in mind, shall I switch on the subtitles? So with all jokes aside, some will recognise that my homeland is just across the pond. With 4,000 miles separating me from my original home, how on earth did I end up in Bristol? So during this talk, I would like to try and tackle some of those questions and concerns that I hear in my head a lot of the time. I feel like the best way to communicate this is through my own experiences. And I want to try and talk you through some of my many life questions. And as a STEM major, I couldn't resist the opportunity to put a biology reference in. So one of our greatest and simplest functions to survival is breathing. Our lives rely on the daily production of oxygen for our own daily use. And one of our biggest oxygen-producing friends is the humble tree. Trees are essential to our survival, and I believe they capture the essence of human life, both simple and complex. And as a senior, as I stand in front of you today, I know that I'm at another major crossroads in my life. Big decisions are about my future are upon me, and there's no escaping them. I know the base, and I'm quickly heading to home plate. My final slide into my graduation date is at my fingertips. Yes, my world of comfort and safety in higher education is about to come to an end. So what's going through my mind? I often hear the questions, what's next? Why? How on earth is that going to be helpful? And so far my answers seem to include the phrase, I don't know. But is this okay? Shouldn't we all be certain of our life plans and what our future will look like as a senior in college? And I've come to the conclusion that this will never be the case for me. I will always have uncertainty in any decision that I make. An aspect of fear is created to the prospect of the unknown. But I would be naive to say that I thought that King would be the right place for me. I headed to the States due to the fact that I did not want to be questioning myself with the what if. I did not want to live that life of regret or disappointment with frustration, knowing that I missed that opportunity of a lifetime. I knew that this experience, if not taken, would remain with me for the rest of my life in my subconscious mind. So I decided to take that leap of faith, push my boundaries, and challenge my comfort zone. But first I would like to rewind and go back to my childhood. I'm here sitting on the left. This is where my seed was planted and allowed to grow. I would never have been able to tell anyone back then that I would be standing here today and sharing my story. The future is an aspect of time that is unpredictable and unforeseeable. I suppose this is why we should maybe leave this to the fortune tellers and their globes. But as a young child sitting here, I had no idea how my life would pan out, and I still don't. This is the excitement of the future. Every day has the opportunity to be different from the one that was just past. However, when I felt like I was young, I felt like the freedom of expression was much greater. When we are children, we are often encouraged to dream big. And there's normal common themes that come with such dreams, with doctors, astronauts, movie stars, and even professional athletes, just to name a few what came to mind. For me, I didn't know what I really wanted to do, but I enjoyed the simple aspects of life, and I suppose I still do now. I thought that being a postwoman would be great fun. The ability to slide that mail through the post box would be just such an amazing experience. It brought me such excitement to me as a child. I would race my sisters to the door to see who could get there first. And I wanted to bring some of that joy into other children's lives, just as it's done to mine. At the time, I felt like I wanted to grow up and gain that responsibility. Time seemed boundless, endless, and couldn't move fast enough. Reflecting on this now, I feel the complete and utter opposite. Every year, life seems to get more confining with duties, responsibilities, and expectations. I never seem to find enough hours in the day, and the idea of making decisions scare me. As children, we are sheltered, and our parents are guiding us through those early years. But now we all sit in college. The decisions are of our own. It's up to you. What are you going to do with it? Embrace the challenge or shy away? So as I'm growing up, it seems like children are so much fun. They're able to find the enjoyment in the simplest of things and out of nothing. Their creativity levels are boundless with no restrictions. But once we reach the age of education, our mind ceases to see order and organisation. By no means is education negative. Knowledge is empowering, and our learning is lifelong. But we have a tendency to start converging to the template what is preset. We see ourselves as an object moving along a long conveyor belt in a production factory, trying to get the tools to success. But what do we define as success? Money? Happiness? Status? Or maybe joy? Society continues to bombard us with these proposed important factors, especially money and status. And just reflect, what are those underlying messages of the American dream? It is easy to get carried along with these notions. However, it doesn't necessarily lead us to happiness or an inner peace. So if we keep following this path and striving for these external motivations, then maybe we'll fall short in our own life ambitions. And then what will we be left with? Saying all of this is very hard to break the norm and jump off that conveyor belt, what seems to be destined to that bright future. But despite the steep drop, your heart is telling you to take that chance. Yet I'm afraid, I'm scared. So which voice do you listen to? The head, the heart, or those external voices? These voices may come in many forms: parents, social responsibilities, or even people like role models. Maybe some professors who are sitting here today that provide us with that guidance and support with your best interest in mind. But who do we listen to? I have come to the conclusion that you must listen to your own heart. This is your life that you must take control of, and no one else can live it for you. Therefore, you must make the decision that you will not regret, or anything seen as an opportunity missed. The path you should decide on is the one that will bring you that joy, and there should be a wall of passion and desire to try and pursue that track. But by no means will there be an absence of fear or anxiety. And by no means is that decision ever permanent. The past cannot be changed. However, the future is still flexible, and we must remember this. So maybe we need to claw back some of that younger inner self and tackle our own grown-up questions. We have been given the tools to succeed, but maybe we should now add that creativity element back in. Let those imagination grow so you can change the path that may be typically associated with that degree you have just pursued. Look at it from a different angle, from a different perspective. So with those learned skills along the way, think about applying them. And there seems to be no recipe book to success. I certainly don't have one, and I don't know of one. Otherwise, maybe I'll be a millionaire. That'd be quite nice. There is no set way to a future, so find your own way for that successful path. I share this with you all today because these are the notions and feelings that I battled with and struggled with during my time at King. I've questioned the notion of home and what it looks like to me. The absence of family close by has left me searching for my own soul. I've come to realise that childhood and family has grounded me, just like the roots of a tree. Even though I'm miles away from home, I still feel like I have those roots present in England, with all my childhood experiences and family still there. These memories are always part of me and they cannot be taken away. They will travel along no matter where I end up in the future. These central roots are literally part of my DNA. My family, sense of home, and experiences have provided me a foundation to my tree in which I am able to grow and find myself as a person. From this point of germination, my foundational roots began to develop. These roots begin to explore and spread. Each experience and memory is another branch to these roots that is set free to continue and progress. Each one of these roots is a building block to a sturdy foundation where you as an individual can find yourself and flourish. By coming to the States, I feel like my roots have branched out and started to spread into the darkest of soil, full of uncertainty. However, over time, these roots continue to project a beam of lightness that drowns out those areas of darkness. By expanding my foundations, it has shaped me as a person. The girl who sat in the pew over there will not be the same young lady who will graduate in May over there in April. I've been exposed to a culturally rich experience that's been life-changing. The friends and the connections that I've made will never be forgotten. And before I came to King, my knowledge of East Tennessee was fictional. I looked on a map to see where its location was, and the terms Bible Belt kept ringing in my ear. Oh, the deep south, people would say. I had many an hour to spend time talking to ladies at my local golf club. There'd be 3 ladies at a time for maybe 3 or 4 hours. And there was no escaping the ominous question when I was back home that, are you excited? My response was always given with a smile and with agreement. But I felt that like this was a facade. I never felt like I quite told the truth. I thought maybe I needed to give that socially acceptable answer. Why wouldn't you be excited? Of course I was, but maybe just not as much as I expected. I felt a deep sense of dread. And saying all of this, my barriers were not as great as others. I was heading to a country that spoke the same language in another Western society. And these mixture of emotion continued throughout my journey over to the States. I was flying in with my family for the ultimate freshman drop-off. I'd never seen King before, so I was heading in blind with no idea what the other side would leave me. And every time I fly into Atlanta, I remember this moment. We were coming in the approach, and I could see the suburbs beneath me. I thought that when I was peering through the window, what a vast amount of space was outside. It was endless and ongoing. It was very similar to the opportunities I've been presented and encountered since turning up here. These are all stemmed from my one phone call that I made while sat in my bed back home. Before we touched down, I glanced over to my right, where my parents were sat. My dad gave me a beaming smile of excitement. I thought he seemed more excited about this than I was. This smile gave me a response. The smile I gave in response seemed to be masking my true emotions. A coping mechanism, maybe to protect those who were closest around me. My dad's expression gave me the excitement of a small child. Excitement for what was to come. I wish I only had felt the same. So once we had figured out if we needed 1 feet or 2 to work an automatic car, or if we could actually turn right on a red light, we set off for the approach for Bristol. We had an A4 sheet of paper with the instructions printed out to how to get to our destination. So with this A4 piece of paper in hand and the car ready to go, we set off on our journey. I was stunned to see that America was so green. I envisioned it something very differently in my dreams. The picturesque views included a sense of awe and tranquility. I expected to see fewer trees, maybe more development, but my eyes were seeing the complete contrary. We arrived at the gates on campus on a beautifully sunny day. Blue skies with not a cloud in the sky. This was the first time that I felt comfortable about my decision. I was here. I had a warm, fuzzy feeling that I found another home. I suppose I had those days since then that I've questioned my decision, but they will always be overridden by the thrill and the enjoyment of experiencing something completely and utterly different. I would never change anything what I've done. I would make those same decisions and choices again and again. The friends and the relationships that I made have truly made the difference in making my American college experience unique. I feel that now, no matter which way I'm flying over the Atlantic, I'm always going home. My King family extends from students, professors, coaches, teammates, and even the catering staff, who have all had an interest in my own welfare, and we share the highs and the lows together, just like a tree within its forest. You are all my extended family, and it doesn't take much to put me at ease. A friendly smile, a warm hello, and all the kind gestures you show have all made the difference and really sums up that true southern welcome of hospitality. Crossroads decisions so hard to make. Living a life without the ability to have full control of your future leads to that uncertainty, what can be hard to accept and grapple with. Too much fear of a decision can be crippling, yet a little may be useful. My decision-making fear may have actually stemmed from childhood. I never wanted to be told off for being naughty. I didn't want to be that disappointment to the people who were closest to me. I wanted them to take pride in the work that I did and the decisions that I made. This is such a hard balance to strike, since they have sacrificed so much for me. I have a deep sense of debt, and I feel like I need to repay it. So I must establish myself as a success. The challenge with the future is that we'll always hold this element of uncertainty. We may have a tendency to work continuously towards the future. In trying to avoid the wrong decision, the overwhelming fear may stop us from making any decision at all. Time will not cease and allow us to try and make this decision for what is the right and the best for us. Obsessing over it, which decision to make in relation to our future, may force us to gloss over the important aspects of the present. We are creatures of habit, and we are programmed for a fight or flight response. If we decide to flight, then we will continue to run away from these issues in the fast pace of life. However, if we decide to fight, we will continue to be submerged in the battle to find the ultimate answer to our future. This is why the balance is so hard to strike. It relates to all when we sit in class and the professor asks you a question. We don't want to give an answer and face up to the fears of being wrong, so we look for an escape. We desperately look down, look like we're busily taking notes, just to try and avoid that eye contact with your professor. Maybe they won't see us. But this will not stop the inevitable question that one day you'll have to face up and answer. It's just how we like to try and run away from those questions and challenges in our own life. It is easy to put them aside and move along, yet one day you'll be the only one left to answer. No one in your class will help you out. They've had their turn, and now it's yours. I don't think you can expect for things just to be handed to you, or for your path to easily align. You must wrestle with the uncomfortable decision and be the driving force for your own motivation and change. Barriers will constantly be put and assembled in your face and doors closed, but you must keep pushing through them and never give up. If there is a fear of rejection or failure, fight against it. Allow yourself to push those comfort levels and your boundaries. It is only natural to feel scared or out of place. We are creatures of habit, but the rewards are so much greater and so self-fulfilling if we take that chance and allow ourselves to live on the edge for a little while. So please don't be afraid. It is easy to look forward and just around the corner to the end of the road ahead. We are constantly striving to that next step, and maybe we forget to enjoy the present. We are looking to the future to predict that next crossroads. We hope that these branches of our new tree will allow us that extra capacity and new growth. These new directions can be culturally rich and invigorating. So if you're a first-generation student, or maybe even the first steps to leaving that conveyor belt of tradition behind, all of us as individuals are able to make decisions that will shape our future and our lives. We must resist that tendency of looking too far forward or getting stuck in regretting the past. We must enjoy the present, the here, the now. Our experiences as a college undergrad will always be remembered no matter what the outcome, but we only have that one opportunity, the one chance. Everyone's experience thus far has greatly differed to the person sitting next to you. We hold the similarity is that we're sharing the same experience occurring in the same time and space as each other. And let this continue. There is no defined path to success. Success for me will always revolve around the happiness and the love for what I do. I firmly believe that what you put into your work, your experiences, and your enjoyment is what you'll be rewarded with. So as I come back to my favourite tree, I have to address the last component, the trunk. The trunk of my tree is the person you see standing here today. It's a combination of my values, my beliefs, my personality that makes me uniquely me. We must not be afraid to be ourselves and let those creative juices flow. Embrace your differences and the qualities that you present. From my experience of being stuck in the crossroads, I've come to learn to accept my uncertainties and my fears, to learn to trust my heart, and therefore self. Your future is never concrete or fully in your control. The past is set, but the future is still flexible. And we must remember this. So how is your tree of life looking? Please allow your tree to flourish. Face up to your fears. Make the uncomfortable decision. And let your branches grow. So, where are your branches? Where are your roots? Where are you? Thank you.
We always present the lecturers with a special token of gratitude, and thank you for a great job. So I hope you are inspired to jump off the conveyor belt. I really like that image. Hopefully I'll see you before Thursday, but I do want to remind you that a week from Thursday, we will have our next speaker, who is Amy Jill Levine, who is a university professor of New Testament and Jewish Studies at Vanderbilt. And she's quite well known and quite a good speaker. She will speak on Thursday, February the 18th at Bristol Public Library, and in a departure here in the Memorial Chapel on Friday, February the 19th. And of course, you will get chapel and combo credit for that. All right, stay safe and warm. God bless.